Um, One of the topics I feel most interested in as a teacher is the use of praise with children and how that affects them. When you start teaching 3-year-olds, you'll be able to tell who comes from a house where they're praised for everything they do versus who comes from a home where the parents have maybe affirmed the child without, every time. I mean, I've been to friends' houses before where the child picks up their jacket and says, "You picked up your jacket, yay!" Or, just really very minute praise very excited praise for like the most minute detail. So the point of that exercise was just to show how kind of arbitrary and ridiculous somebody else placing their judgment on your work is. And the point of the activity, not doing a representational drawing, was to be more like maybe what a 3 or 4-year-old will be doing. And of course, nobody would ever say those things that I just said to a 3 or 4-year-old child. Some people would actually. But the point is, so in the Montessori classroom, we're watching these children develop and be their own inner guide. So we're wanting to withdraw the judgment completely and let them develop and let them choose their colors and draw the shapes or not draw their shapes if they decide not to participate. So this is an article maybe some of you have seen before called 5 Reasons to Stop Saying Good Job, Alfie Kohn. I should give it out every opportunity I can. And we're not going to read the article right now, but I think we should just read through the reasons that he is going to list, and then you can read it yourself later. So, it's manipulative. Did anyone feel a little manipulated, even just the way that I was responding to your drawing? Number 2, it creates praise junkies. That's what I've seen when I have a student who comes in and they move one bean over with a spoon. They're like, "Look, I moved a bean over," because they're wanting me to say, "Oh, good for you." We're really trying to get away from it. You will have students who need that, and we try to wean them off as quickly as possible. But sometimes they just won't move forward without that little bit of praise or cheerleading. Number 3, it steals the child's pleasure. Did it take away any of your pleasure of your drawing when I started telling you what I thought of it or what the quality of the drawing was? Number 4, it makes the child lose interest. Somebody's sitting there working really hard on a nice drawing and you interrupt them to say, "Oh, that's really beautiful." And I see this happen. I even see teachers doing this. It's hard to get this mindset that you're not ever going to interrupt a child from their work. But then the child's sort of like, their concentration's broken and they're like, "Oh, maybe it's beautiful already. Maybe I don't need to keep working on it." Maybe, it's just letting the child judge their own work and be proud of their own work is so much more important than us telling them. And number 5, reducing achievement. There have actually been a lot of studies that show that praise leads to less motivation. It might motivate children in the moment, but long term does not. So then he gives you some examples of what to do instead of praise. One thing is say nothing, and that's fine. Probably 90% of the work that takes place in the classroom, a teacher is not going to actually even interact with the child over that work at all. And the children are very self-motivated, self-directed, and independent, partially because we don't intervene in that way. Number 2, say what you saw. This is, you drew a tree. You drew an orange spiral with brown circles. You drew purple and orange stripes. Or, it's just giving them vocabulary. It's being descriptive, like the observe and describe game I showed yesterday. It's a very valid way to talk to a child about their work. To them, it feels like praise because they're having that positive interaction with the teacher, but it's not praise. It's not giving them any evaluation of what they've done. Talk less, ask more is another piece of, tell me about your picture. I use that all the time. Tell me about your work. This is my mommy, this is my daddy. And it might look just like an abstract drawing, but they're going to tell you and then say, "Can I write it down for you?" Grab a pencil and write their words on their paper. It's always a real treat when you're a parent because the child doesn't always remember later on what they had been drawing. They've got so much going on in their lives every day. But if the teacher has written the words there, and write it just the way the child says the words, even if it's not a complete sentence. So this is a fabulous article. I urge you to read it when you have time. That's another, it's a lifelong process to kind of internalize and work, move away from praise, especially if you've been a person who praises. My dad and I argue about this all the time. He doesn't agree with this philosophy of non-praise. All right, let's see, at some point later today, at 10:40, we're gonna go in and watch group time in Robin's class.